All right, now to balance it out, we're going to go into some African metaphysics. I had an article pulled up from Oxford Scholar, but then I found this post on Facebook dated December 3rd, 2013. And I might not have the entire rest of what I mean by that is I might run out of time here, but I'm going to start and read it anyway, see how far we can get. What is African metaphysics? Metaphysics, apart from its traditional and etymological definitions, has diverse definitions given differently by different scholars. However, in whatever way it's defined, it should include a necessity for a universal outlook toward reality. The word metaphysics, which is said to have Greek origin, is believed to have been first used in the 4th century BC by the Peripatetic. It was seen as the science of being equal being. This means the study of reality from the point of view of other beings. Parmenides is often referred to as the real enunciator of Western metaphysics before Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle gave it a more detailed and rigorous treatment. Down to Immanuel Kant, metaphysics became divided into 3 major parts, namely rational theology, rational cosmology, and rational psychology. For Martin Heidegger, all ontological inquiries have missed the mark by not addressing satisfactorily the question of being. Metaphysics includes both transcends and particularisms of individual existence to focus on the interrelationships of particulars within the universal. It is therefore a philosophical outlook which tries to reach a more comprehensive, all-embracing, totalistic view of reality without neglecting the unique place of individual things in the holism of reality. So, in talking about reality, we are referring to both disparate and homogeneous outlooks. It may be an aspect of reality, such as properties, relations, individual beings, etc. It could be the examination of being in a generic sense. What is important in each case is to reach a general and fundamental assumption that articulate a rationally acceptable worldview as far as such sphere of reality is concerned. Michael Lew's Universals and Particulars, Readings and Ontology captures the different area of concern of metaphysics. A.J. Ayer has succinctly defined metaphysics as that branch of philosophical discourse which deals with the fundamental question about the structure of reality. The etymological meaning of metaphysics holds that metaphysics is derived from the Greek words metaphysika, meaning after physics or transcending the physical. Andronicus of Rhodes, the chronicler of Aristotle's work on physical nature as metaphysics, is concerned with issues bordering on the extramental, spiritual, abstract, universal, or transcendental discipline. This cannot totally be said to be the understanding metaphysics evidences. Like Immanuel Kant, we see metaphysics as concerning the totality of reality, whether God as in rational theology, or man, nature, and the universe as in rational cosmology or mind, and its ideas as in rational psychology. However, these are not periscoped wholly through a priori concepts, as some have opined, but through the interplay of a priori and a posteriori and a posteriori concepts, or through experience and reason. Metaphysics is a science that seeks ultimate understanding of reality. I think it's a posteriori. Metaphysics is defined by Collingwood as the science of pure being and as a science which deals with presuppositions underlying ordinary science. Its procedure is to ignore the differences between the individual thing and that individual and attend only to whatever they have in common. Metaphysics deals with the nature of existence. Metaphysics, being the study of reality as a whole, is concerned with the generalization of experience for the purpose of identifying fundamental entities. Metaphysics therefore involves a synthesis of all experiences in order to achieve a coherent whole which gives a complete picture of reality. It is in this latter sense that we intend to survey aspects of African metaphysics to see how the disparate metaphysical objects of the African people fit into a coherent metaphysical framework. African metaphysics should be seen as the African way of perceiving, interpreting, and making meaning out of interactions among beings and reality in general. It is the totality of the African's perception of reality. African metaphysics will therefore include systematization of the African perspective as it relations to being and existence. This will embrace the holistic conception of reality with its appurtenance of relations, qualities, characterizations, being, and its subtleties, universals, particular ideas, minds, culture, logic, moral, theories, and presuppositions. African metaphysics is holistic and interrelated. The logic of their metaphysics underpins their standard and expectations. This is not to go with the impression that all African communities share the same standard, even though the standard is community-based. Borrowing from Quine, each community operates from a background theory that penetrates its perception and metaphysics of reality. If you see things other than the way the community sees them, they will demean your understanding and systematize your alienness. What we intend to do is to abstract the general orientation of the African in their metaphysics and general views about certain aspects of reality. Here we adumbrate the African's perception of the following aspect of reality: v. personality, being, substance, causality, immorality of the soul, witchcraft, appearance, and reality. To preface this examination, we aver that though we cannot really see African system as being rooted in the analytic tradition of Western philosophy, this is not to say that African metaphysics is less rigorous. African metaphysics is the primeval time, due to their unwritten nature, cannot provide us with a written rigorous specimen of the metaphysics, argumentation, and analysis nonetheless. The spirit of rigor is not absent because every view is properly examined and seen to rationally explain a cosmic puzzle before it is accepted. The Africans had a pragmatic metaphysics. If an idea, an explanation, a conception, a belief, or folk wisdom worked, it was accepted even though they may not fulfill certain fundamental criteria of a projective reality. This notwithstanding, the Africans had far-reaching thoughts about their environment, physical and transcendental phenomena with which they are acquainted. If an idea worked, they still dug deep to unravel through mystical means to ascertain the basic for such phenomenon in their reality scheme. This means that Africans were aware of the consequence of superficial contemplation of their universe. They thought and tried as deeply as their theoretical and experiential apparatus could aid them. Not having a form of writing must have hindered serious reflective afterthought, which ruminating over written experiences can afford. A mere mental acquaintance a mere mental acquaintance with reality cannot guarantee tenacity and longevity of ideas. The ideas evaporate and new attempts are made from time to time to recapture the substance of previous experience. But as J.I. Omoregbe has opined, the Africans store their ideas in the form of folklores, folk wisdom, mythologies, traditional proverb, religious worldviews, etc. This enables them to examine more closely their views. However, this form of preservation cannot be compared with documentation in written form. Their experiences are tested in order to ascertain their truth. These tests provide the Africans with clues as they continue their forays into the wilderness of reality. It is therefore against such a background that African metaphysical should be periscoped. Nothing is accepted without evidence and reason. The reason may commit us to either empirical or rational validation. We can therefore say that in African metaphysics, empiricism merges with rationalism. The cleavage between empiricism and rationalism, if it exists at all, is not a matter for serious epistemological disputes. With this background, we shall examine different concepts in order to show how they feature in African metaphysics. Personality. Personality as a noun concept means all the qualities and attributes that make an individual a distinct person. It includes one's makeup or constituent parts, character, conduct, and personal idiosyncrasies. But personality in the context in which we are viewing it is seen from the angle of what makes up the human personality in general and the significance of each constituent part. The Western conception of a person being a rational, moral, free linguistic and social entity is taken for granted in the African metaphysics. In the Western conception of personality, a person is said to be made up of spirit, soul, and body. The spirit is usually said to be a higher principle in close link with the divine order, while the soul is the go-between, sandwiched between the spirit and the body, performing relational, regulative, and communicative functions for both the spirit and the body. Plato dwelt extensively on this subject, talking of the rational, spirited, and appetitive parts of the soul, which appropriately should be seen as a part of the individual rather than the soul. The rational represents the spirit, the spirited, the soul, and the appetitive, the body. All right, running out of time here. I wish Facebook allowed you to like highlight things within the post. Maybe it does, and I just don't know. Anyway, thanks for listening to that long essay. Again, this is at African Philosophy on Facebook.